Hello, everyone, and welcome to our regulatory update meeting for December 2025. This is a special RegTalk. We'll see how. So today, I will talk about the main global regulatory trends that we have observed across 2025. This presentation will summarize the updates from 11 monthly webinar that we covered this year in different countries. And the goal is to highlight patterns, tendencies, and emerging priority in medical devices and IVD regulation worldwide. So let's see. So these trends appeared repeatedly in different regions. Some countries are early adopters, others are catching up. The convergence is clear. First, digitalization, transparency, and stronger control of high-risk technology. So let's begin with one of the strongest trends this year, the shift to digital regulatory infrastructure. So many regulators launched or expanded online systems, and these digital tools make submission faster, more trustable, and more transparent. We will see one by one of these examples. So here in Pakistan is a good example of full digitalization. From July 2025, manual submissions were completely discontinued. All device-related licensing and registration transitioned to the new portal. So this directly aligns with global best practices. Now in Singapore, it refined multiple guidances in 2025, all pointing toward more structured digital submission. And as I mentioned in several RegTalk, the chair platform remains one of the most advanced regulatory systems globally right now. In Malaysia, this country made a complete digital jump in the advertisement pathway, simplifying the process and reducing manual errors. So the advertising applications now are 100% online. In Botswana, this country progressively aligned to modern systems with BRIMS. Permits for import-export now require digital submission and supporting traceability and compliance. Another major theme here is transparency. So regulators want clearer documentation, accessible records, and updated authorized representative information. These changes show a shared focus. Regulators want to ensure that the public, healthcare provider, and importer have clear and updated information about who is responsible for each device. Let's see these examples. So for example, in Russia is reinforcing the role of the authorized representative and improving the structure of documentation. Manufacturer must tighten dossier maintenance, especially during re-registration. Oman now requires operational documents to be made public. This aligns with the EEC's transparency recommendation and increases confidence in the device ecosystem. Labeling requirements became more sophisticated in 2025. Many countries expanded traceability, added new mandatory elements, or aligned to IMDRF standards. So, across 2025, regulators demonstrated a strong push of clearer labeling and better traceability. UDI implementation timelines were released or updated in multiple markets. And several authorities also introduced new language requirements and accepted digital IFU to improve the access and reduce the cost. So, in Egypt made one of the biggest labeling overhaul in 2025. The mandatory use of Arabic ensures local usability and safety, while the UDI adoption improves traceability. The restriction on over-labeling help maintain consistency and prevent conflicting information. Russia traceability system continue to expand. Gloves, for example, are now fully integrated into the digital track and trace platform, making Russia one of the most advanced markets in supply chain transparency. The Mercosur updates, modernizes the region labeling system. Digital IFU reduce paper use and allow faster updates, while expanded labels requirement increase user safety. In Australia, it has now has one of the most structured UDI timeline globally. These deadlines give manufacturers time to adapt systems and ensure alignment with IMDRF expectation. So as you can see here, just a reminder of the timeline for Australia, Class 3 2B by 1st of July next year, 2A by the 1st of July 2027, and Class 1S IVD 4.3 by 1st July 2028, IVD Class 2 and 1 by 1st July 2029. Clear responsibility for manufacturer and sponsor are also detailed in the correspondent guideline. Now, we shift to how countries updated their registration frameworks, including new renewal rules, modified timelines, and reliance-based pathway. So, across 2025, we saw regulators extend registration validity and streamline renewal processes, often moving them entirely online. Reliance pathway also accelerated access in multiple regions. As we can see here, longer validity period in Philippines and Serbia, mandatory renewal on digital platform, new group in bundling rules in Oman, more structured dossier requirements, expansion of reliance and immediate pathway. The Philippines introduced major improvement in efficiency. So longer validity reduces regulatory workload and benefit manufacturers, of course, by lowering long-term costs. So the initial registration validity is now for 6 years, renewal validity 6 or 12 years, and renewal allowed 120 days before the expiry. In Serbia, straightened controls over renewal using a fully digital system. So the dual language requirement improves usability for local regulator and healthcare provider. So the renewal application in Serbia now have to go through the e-portal. New fee and tracking system has been published. And now manufacturer declaration is required, and packaging IFU must include, as we said, dual language, Serbian and English. Oman has one of the clearest registration framework in the GCC region. The bundling rules in GD14, new grouping bundling framework guidance allow efficient grouping, especially useful for system and procedure packs. A set of guidelines were published in Oman this year, and we have already discussed them in details in the previous session. So Botswana, very active country also this year. It is gradually implementing its full regulatory framework, giving stakeholder time to adapt. So for Class C and D, should be registered by June 2026. All these dates were amended several times, but this one, for example, this I think would be the last update. So we prepared for next year. Class B registration open 1st April of next year, and Class E registration open 1st of October 2026. Now, in Cuba, significantly improved its IVD regulation structure in late 2024 and throughout 2025. So this brings the country closer to international standards in terms of dossier structure and timeline. So new registration timeline is 80 days, renewal or modification 150 days, and 30-day extension possible, replaces outdated 2013, 2014 regulation that were in place before this update. Now, in Ukraine, inspections resumed after years of interruption due to both COVID-19 and the ongoing conflict. So this reflects its return to stricter oversight and regulatory enforcement. So yeah, it was resumed late 2024, and the full market surveillance reinstated. Now, one of the strongest emerging themes across 2025 is the regulation of AI and digital medical products. So authorities are moving quickly to establish work trail for safety, cybersecurity, and real-world validation. So, for example, in South Africa, it has issued one of the most comprehensive AI guidance documents in the continent. Their approach mirrored international standards, focusing on transparency and cybersecurity, and the continuous monitoring of all essential for machine learning-based products. Give you some time to read the slide. In Singapore, the new software as medical device classification rules reduced ambiguity. Software that simply display information or follow fixed clinical guidelines is excluded from regulation, helping manufacturers determine when a product becomes a medical device. In South Korea, the country is positioning itself as a leader in digital health regulation. So the new act provides a full legal structure for digital medical technology, including software-specific requirements like version tracking and cybersecurity. So all about digitalization and transparency and the tracking of all the post-market surveillance, better traceability, and yeah, more controlled way to update the information. Now, multiple countries updated their device classification lists to reflect new technology and risk profiles. So China's updates reflects modern device technology, especially digital therapy and nanomaterials. They also straightened the classification of eye therapy devices due to potential cumulative retinal damage. You can see here in details, like for nanomaterial devices, generally class 2 or 3, laser-based eye therapy class 3, AI-driven rehab software follows AI regulation. That was published in July 2025. Here, India. In India, it continues refining its classification system. So it creates more clarity for manufacturers working with the high-risk implantable devices. So now it's clear that this was published, we said previously, in April 2025. So high-risk devices or Class D devices include aortic valves, coronary stent, pacemaker, and CRT devices, automated external defibrillator. Yeah. So in this case, it was a draft, so open for public consultation. Do not forget about that. Mercosur new regulation modernizes how devices are categorized, bringing Latin America closer to Europe IMDRF standards. So it's expanded to 20, the classification rules to 21 rules, introduced new definition of software as medical device, nanomaterial, active devices, also new grouping rules for systems, kits, family, and special rules for sterilization, implant, and disinfection. So 2025 demonstrated a strong shift toward reliance mechanism that reduced duplication and accelerates approval. So for example, in Kenya, it is embracing reliance as a way to speed up access without compromising safety, of course. And this benefits, of course, manufacturer with reference market approval. So it applies to Class B, C, D, and relies on approval from FDA, EMA, MHRA, Health Canada, TGA, etc., referral country. But there is no reliance for Class A. In South Korea, it introduced one of the most aggressive fast-track programs globally. So this is designed to attract innovation and support digital health, especially. Effective from March of this year. And in Malaysia, it's strengthening its reliance strategy by trusting recognized regulator. So this accelerates approval. We have here the devices approved by referral country or authority are eligible for streamlined conformity assessment to avoid repeated technical review and minimize the cost and also the timelines, shorten the timeline. Okay, fees, growth 2025. So several authority, as we have seen all along this year, adjusted or restructured their fee schedules. Most of them after many years of no changes. And so we've seen some changes. I will present some example here. today. So as of now, we say the digitalization, the traceability, the the transparency, and the fees restructuration, and also classification rules in some countries, especially in Mercosur and China. So the Philippines, for the fees, the Philippines increased fee to modernize operation and support new regulatory infrastructure. This reflects similar fee adjustment in other emerging markets. So as I said, for example, in Philippines, this was an update after 20 years. Significant increase across several categories. So they justify this increase in fee by economic growth, technological modernization, or increase in regulatory workload. Most interest for Philippine market. So in this session, I will not go through the details. All these were discussed all along the year. You can go through the YouTube session of our RegTalk series of 2025, and you will have reference to each guidance and a lot of details. But here just to see the tendency and to keep, if we can have like 3-4 bullet points in our head about what is the most changeable tendency in these years. At least that's what I wanted to share with you for 2025. That would be good. So for Pakistan, new fee structure aligns better with international workload models. The increases primarily affect Class B/D devices, reflecting their higher regulatory complexity. In another strong trend in this year is the reinforcement of QMS expectation and the introduction of structured self-inspection rules, especially in Asia. Yeah, so China new framework is one of the most detailed self-inspection systems worldwide. It forces companies to demonstrate strong internal testing, record keeping, and staff competence, reducing reliance on external third-party labs unless strictly compliant. This flexibility rewards companies with strong internal system, of course, and lowers the regulatory burden for repeat and low-risk verification. And in South Africa, it is raising its QMS expectation. So establishment must now demonstrate ISO 13485 certification to obtain or renew licenses. Sri Lanka temporarily relaxed requirement to reduce regulatory burden while transitioning to a more structured ISO-based system. So waived until May 2027 and GMP inspection for Class 1. And several regulatory bodies updated rules for important devices or samples, often focusing on traceability, documentation, and permit system. Egypt, yeah. So Egypt update ensures that imports are only allowed for products actively progressing toward registration, reducing long-standing preliminary approval. And so in India, this new model simplifies multi-importer management. Yeah, that was a big news. Subsequent important importer model, especially for company distributing through multiple Indian partners. So, as we discussed previously, additional importer can be added. So some updates were very targeted, focusing on specific device types such as HIV self-test, Mpox test, and light source therapy devices. So device-specific requirement. We'll see these examples. HIV self-test in Malaysia. So this country tightened control around these devices to ensure quality, to limit the misuse, and to increase post-market surveillance. For South Africa, responded to public health risk with the strict regulation of MPOX diagnostic tools, ensuring only accurate RT-PCR kits are used. So public advertising are not allowed. It must meet Class D IVD requirement. All these tests will need the approval from the authority. So like strict or more control on these devices. Now, many regions extended transition period to give industry more time to comply with new framework. We've seen this amendment of timelines all along the year. So in Russia, it's granted an extra year to update AR information, reflecting like the complexity of shifting representation and documentation. So the new deadline is September of 2026 instead of last September 2025. But it insists that the compliance is mandatory, otherwise certification can be suspended or annulled. So in EAU, this extension is critical for manufacturer still operating under national system, so it ensures adequate time to migrate into the new unified process. Amendment allowed until 2028. A national registration deadline moved from 2025 to 2027. So, final global takeaways. So across all the regions, 2025 was the year of modernization, digital systems, improved traceability, a clearer classification rule dominated the agenda of the regulatory agency. Countries are increasingly aligned with IMDRF standards, which support harmonization, easier global market access. So I think we reach our last summary of this reg update of this year. And I would like to say thank you. Thank you for your attendance. Your presence is motivating. We'll keep giving you the most interesting and updates related to medical devices and IVD in our RegTalk session of 2026. Hope to see all of you next year and happy holiday.
Thank you, Iman. Thank you so much,